In a quiet Nigerian village, a kind young girl was forced into a life of hardship by a cruel stepmother. But when fate and kindness collide, her life takes a turn no one saw coming. This is the extraordinary story of Amara, the Ash Princess who rose from the ashes to become a queen. In a vibrant village nestled amongst the rolling hills of ancient Nigeria, there lived a kind and beautiful woman named Adana. Her laughter was as sweet as the song of the morning birds, and her heart was as warm as the midday sun. Adana was married to a strong and respected man named Chiki, and their love was a beacon of light for all who knew them. Their union was blessed with a beautiful daughter, whom they named Amara, which means grace. Amara was the spitting image of her mother, with bright, curious eyes and a smile that could melt the hardest of hearts. She was the joy of her parents' lives, a precious gift they cherished above all else. The family lived in a modest but happy home, their days filled with love, laughter, and the simple pleasures of village life. They were a perfect portrait of happiness, admired and loved by their community. Sadly, this idyllic life was not destined to last forever. A sudden illness, swift and merciless, fell upon the village, and dear Adana was among those it claimed. Chika was devastated, his world shattered into a million pieces. The light in his life had been extinguished, leaving him and young Amara cloaked in a shadow of grief and sorrow. As time passed, Chiki knew he had to be strong for his daughter. His friends and family advised him to remarry, to bring a mother's presence back into Amara's life. After much thought, Chik married a woman from a neighboring village named Ifeoma. On the surface, Ifeoma was charming and polite, her words as smooth as palm oil, but beneath her pleasant exterior, a heart of stone was hidden. At first, Ifeoma treated Amara with a calculated sweetness, a clever performance to win over Chiki and the villagers. She would braid Amara's hair, tell her stories, and praise her new husband for his choice. But when Chiki was away, hunting or trading in the market, a cold and cruel side of Ifeoma would emerge. Her smiles would vanish, replaced by a permanent scowl. Ifeoma had two daughters of her own, Neka and Chidinma, who were just as unkind and selfish as their mother. They were lazy and demanding, expecting to be waited on hand and foot. Ifeoma doted on her own children, giving them the best food, the finest clothes, and the easiest chores, while she began to burden poor Amara with all the hard work around the compound. Amara was made to wake before the rooster crowed, her small hands fetching water from the distant stream. She would sweep the entire compound, her back aching from the strain, while her stepsisters slept soundly in their beds. She pounded yams until her arms grew tired, and cooked meals for the entire family, often receiving only the smallest portion for herself. Despite the hardship, Amara never complained. She remembered her mother's teachings of kindness and resilience, holding on to them like a precious treasure. She performed her tasks diligently, her spirit unbroken, her heart still pure. She would often sing her mother's favorite songs softly to herself, finding comfort in the melodies that reminded her of happier times. One day, Chiki announced he had to go on a long trading journey that would keep him away for many weeks. Before he left, he kissed Amara goodbye, telling her to be a good girl and obey her stepmother. Amara's heart sank, knowing that without her father's presence, her life would become even more difficult. She watched him disappear down the path, a single tear rolling down her cheek. As soon as Chiki was gone, Ifeoma's cruelty escalated. She moved Amara out of her comfortable room and made her sleep on a thin mat in the hot, stuffy kitchen. Her clothes were taken away and replaced with old, tattered rags. Neka and Chidinma would mock her relentlessly, calling her Ash Princess, because she was always covered in soot from the cooking fire. Amara's days were a blur of endless, back-breaking labor. She tended the farm under the scorching sun, her feet bare and blistered. She fed the animals, washed a mountain of clothes in the river, and scrubbed the floors until they shone. Her only friends were the birds in the trees and the chickens in the yard, to whom she would whisper her secret sorrows. One evening, as Amara was scrubbing pots by the fire, her stomach growling with hunger, she overheard Ifeoma talking to her daughters. A great festival was to be held in the village in honor of the king's son, the handsome Prince Ade. It was said that the prince was looking for a bride, and every eligible maiden in the kingdom was invited to attend. Neka and Chidinma squealed with excitement, their minds already filled with dreams of dancing with the prince and becoming royalty. Ifeoma immediately began preparations, buying them the most expensive wrappers and the most beautiful beads. She spent hours anointing their skin with fragrant oils and styling their hair in elaborate designs, sparing no expense to make them look presentable. Amara's heart fluttered with a tiny spark of hope. She timidly approached her stepmother and asked, "Stepmother, may I also go to the festival?" Ifeoma and her daughters burst into cruel laughter. "You?" Ifeoma sneered, looking Amara up and down with disgust. "Look at you, covered in dirt and rags. You would bring shame upon our family. Stay here and finish your chores." On the day of the festival, the compound was buzzing with excitement. Neka and Chidinma paraded around in their splendid new outfits, preening and admiring themselves. As they prepared to leave, Ifeoma gave Amara a final, impossible task. She mixed a large basket of millet seeds with a basket of sand and ordered Amara to separate them all before they returned. With her family gone and a hopeless task before her, Amara finally broke down. She sat by the pile of sand and grain and wept, her tears falling like rain onto the dusty ground. Just as she was about to give up all hope, a flock of doves flew down and landed beside her. To her astonishment, the lead dove spoke to her in a gentle, soothing voice. "Do not cry, sweet Amara," the dove cooed. "We have seen your kindness and your suffering. We will help you." The flock of doves immediately set to work, their tiny beaks expertly picking the millet seeds from the sand. In what seemed like no time at all, the two piles were perfectly separated. Amara was speechless with gratitude. "But I still have nothing to wear to the festival," she sighed, looking down at her rags. The lead dove then told her to go to the giant iroko tree at the edge of her mother's old garden and whisper her name. Confused but hopeful, Amara did as she was told. As she whispered her name, Amara, a hollow in the tree trunk, opened up. Inside, she found the most breathtaking gown she had ever seen, woven from threads of moonlight and shimmering like a river at dawn. Beside it lay a pair of slippers made of pure, gleaming gold. Overjoyed, Amara quickly washed herself in the stream and put on the magnificent attire. She was transformed from a kitchen maid into a vision of pure beauty. As she made her way to the festival, every head turned. No one recognized the stunning maiden who walked with such grace and elegance. At the palace, Prince Aid's eyes were immediately drawn to her. He was captivated by her beauty and her gentle demeanor. He asked her to dance, and they spent the entire evening together, lost in conversation and laughter. Amara was so happy, she completely lost track of time. When she heard the clock tower begin to chime for midnight, she remembered her stepmother's warning. Panicked, she pulled away from the prince and ran from the palace, leaving him calling after her. In her haste, one of her golden slippers fell off on the palace steps. The next day, the prince, determined to find the mysterious woman who had stolen his heart, declared that he would marry the maiden whose foot fit the golden slipper. He and his royal guards began a search, visiting every home in the kingdom. When they arrived at Amara's compound, Ifeoma locked Amara in the kitchen and presented her own daughters. Nneka tried first, her foot far too wide to fit into the delicate slipper. Then Chidinma tried, her foot too long and narrow. They pushed and shoved, but it was no use. Just as the prince was about to leave, disappointed, he heard a sweet, sad song coming from the back of the house. It was Amara singing to her friends, the birds. The prince insisted on seeing who was singing. A reluctant Ifeoma was forced to bring Amara out from the kitchen. Though she was back in her rags and covered in soot, the prince felt a pull of recognition. He knelt and gently slipped the golden slipper onto her foot. It was a perfect fit. In that moment, everyone realized the truth. The prince lifted Amara to her feet, his face lit up with joy. He declared that he had found his bride. Ifeoma and her daughters stood in stunned silence, their faces a mask of fury and disbelief. Their wicked plans had been thwarted, and their cruelty was exposed for all to see. Amara, ever so gracious, forgave her stepmother and stepsisters for their cruelty, though they were banished from the royal court. She married Prince Aid in a grand celebration that lasted for 7 days and 7 nights. Her father, Cheek, returned from his journey just in time to give his beloved daughter away, his heart swelling with pride and happiness. Amara became a beloved queen, known throughout the land for her kindness, wisdom, and grace. She never forgot her humble beginnings and ruled with a compassionate heart, ensuring that all her people were treated with fairness and respect. And so, the girl who was once called the Ash Princess lived happily ever after, her life a testament to the fact that goodness and virtue will always triumph over wickedness. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more tales from Africa.